Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. I'm Trinese, and this is,
Latrisa.
and we're back. As y'all know, we still haven't figured out the name for our podcast, but we'll get you all to help us with that later on down the line. Today, we have a super great topic that we're going to be talking about. But before we get started, let's just check in a minute. So, Latricia, how have you been doing? Is it anything exciting that happening to you this week or your week or whatnot?
This week, I was able to go on a business trip with my publisher, and that was really exciting to experience the work that she's doing. Evie Danny Books, if any, that's my publisher, and my second book released in the last week. So at the time of this recording, so it's been a really exciting week. My book made the new release top 103 categories, or three or four categories, and then I made the bestsellers list, like the general bestsellers list in the category. So it was definitely an exciting week, completely expected, but not to the volume in which it happened. So I'm really excited about that. So it stayed. I was in at least one category when I checked today. So that's 5 days straight that I've been on the Amazon bestsellers list, or in their top 100 list, respectively. So I'm really excited about the things going on with the business.
Ooh, congratulations, congratulations. I know you are you excited about that. Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't
Yeah.
know you had a new book that was released, but so I know I need to get it. What's the name of it?
It's
Shameless
finding
plug here. Mm-hmm.
Yes, Finding Freedom in Finances Annual Personal Budget Planner.
Absolutely. That's something I definitely need right now. You know what? Let me just go ahead with the topic before I go and start talking about another topic. So, guys, today we are going to be talking about.
Hold up. Before you get to that, what's been going on in your world?
Well, in my world, exciting week. Um, well, you know, but now everyone will know I have a nonprofit with my guy Dallas Ritchie, and this week we were able to have a conversation to share ideas with the pardons and parole in Alabama. So we're looking to do some partnerships with them, and that was very exciting and uh, absolutely fabulous this week.
Yeah, and
I couldn't come up with a name because it was just our journey alone
mhm.
for us to get to that place as fast as we did. We know it was nobody but God. Nobody
Yeah.
but God.
And I would just like to say, specifically to you, Trinice, and Dallas too, because I know him personally as well.
Mhm.
I'm so proud of both of you and how you have turned, your past mistakes into a message and to help the masses, literally. And it is an honor and a privilege, really, to watch that from my side, and then seeing the impact that you are having right now, that you all are going to have. So I know we definitely want to talk a little bit more about that on this podcast, because that is something that's definitely needed within our society in general. So thank you so much for the work that you all are doing. It's definitely needed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, like I said, nobody but God. And that's the great segue to lead us into our topic today, which is we're going to be talking about our journeys with God, where we came from, where we are now, and just currently what we're working on when it comes to our faith.
Yeah, and it's important because this podcast is really about combining all of the aspects of our lives, right? So sometimes you go to one outlet and they only talk about this, or they only talk about that. But really, we want to allow this podcast to be a space where we can say, hey, these are the things that are going on in our lives, because I may not need help with my business plan right now because I'm stressed out about life, right? So just having that open conversation just about the things that are important to us is just monumental to our progress individually.
Yes, absolutely. It's like it's. I heard someone said that you can't build a business bigger than yourself. So as you were saying, like all of those aspects are important. It's just as important as writing down the business plan. So I don't know if you want to start us off first with sharing your journey, or you want me to start off.
No, you go first. I went first last time.
I hear you. I hear you. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so my journey with God, I'll say the introduction of my life with God came from the church. Um, at a young age, I mean, I think I was 5 years old, maybe, if not probably a newborn, and was raised up in the church, so to speak. So my introduction to God was in the church. Granddad a deacon, my stepfather was a pastor, so a moment of my life was lived as a pastor's kid. So I saw the ins and outs of church. But honestly speaking, my true encounter with God didn't happen in the church. My true encounter with God happened on a dirt road. For people that are in Tuscaloosa, that know Tuscaloosa, I was on Highway 11 riding one day on the dirt road in desperation because I had found myself in a place and space where I felt like I just couldn't do life the way I was doing it anymore. I wanted to make a change. So I was riding on the dirt road and talking openly out loud in my car. And what we would say is praying, communicating with God. And I was actually saying, hey, are you here? You are. I need some type of something to let me know that you are here. I can't do it on my own. But I basically was at a point of surrender to whatever the plan was for my life. And that day on that dirt road, from this day forward, everything had changed for me from that one encounter. It was as if my heart had been healed. My mindset had begun to change. Of course, throughout a process, not in that one day, but it was a process. And that basically was my encounter with God. And throughout it all, a lot of the things that I heard in church, learned in church, seemed to come into manifestation or it materialized in my life. As in one point in my life, I would hear about everything, hear about God, but then it was to the point that now, okay, no, I know God for myself. I've had an introduction to meet someone, and now I want to have a relationship with the person that I have been hearing about all my life. So that is, the part of my journey of how I encountered God and I'll share further where it's going on now and what I'm working on in my faith. But you want to chime in to share what your how did you get where you are with God in your journey, so to speak?
Man, God and I have a very interesting relationship,
Okay.
and it's been, I don't know if a roller coaster is the right word, but it's definitely been a Ferris wheel. So I wouldn't quite call it a roller coaster, but we gonna call it a Ferris wheel.
Yeah.
But like you, I grew up in church.
Mm-hmm.
I would tell my college friends that the only I can count on my hands how many times I missed church between the ages of 0 to 18. Now let's not talk about when you become an adult,
Right.
but 0 to 18, yes, I can count on my hands, how many times that I missed church. So as as you would hear people say, I came to Christ at a very young age. So I was about 6 years old when I became, a Christian. But I don't know, like I was a very inquisitive child. So I would ask questions. I remember one particular conversation with my parents being really upset that I could only give God a dime. Like I was pissed. Like it was bad. Like they had to calm me down. They was like, you're practicing this when you get older, you'll be able to give more. And like they literally had to calm me down. So I was pretty committed as a child. And then, teenage years had its ups and downs. And I can remember one particular moment because I was going through something. Am I being rebellious? And I can remember. I don't know if we can call it Highway 11 for you. Mine was like actually in the church service.
Uh-huh.
And I'm not saying that I was asking God to like cry out or, crying out to him, but I can remember it was a moment where the spirit was high. It was a move of God happening, and I did not feel anything. That was the worst feeling in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happened, like just thinking about it right now, I remember I was in the choir stand on the second row on the far. If you facing the pulpit, I was on the left hand side in the corner. Like I remember it, very clear. And that was like the deadest feeling. Is just like feeling like in a vacuum, just like your breath's been taken away from you. And that moment was a pivotal moment for me, and really trying to make my way back to God. Now he was always present, most definitely, but I wasn't on the same frequency with him. And from that point on, I really, engaged in getting back my relationship with him. So, for anyone who's listening, your relationship with God does not have to be perfect. If you slip or have slipped, God is still like there with open arms, ready to take you back, because he knows how to deal with all of our mess ups, our screw ups, and all those things. He's just waiting for us to turn back to him. So definitely want to offer that word of encouragement to anyone who is listening to that. But yeah, but my journey with God, I guess, like I said, it's phases, similar to what Trinese has said. So I would say that was probably like 0 to 18. Like I was really committed. Then I backslid, and then I committed again, and then college was his own animal, and so I would say, if we're thinking about like levels, this is not levels but phases probably. Mm-hmm. I would say this is the I guess the fourth iteration or fourth version of my relationship with God. You know what I mean? Like each level of my life has presented different challenges and has required something different from me. So that's been the journey. But grateful for my parents for installing those values. Vacation Bible School, teaching Sunday school as a child, because we did this thing where the youth would have to teach Sunday school to all of the classes, adult classes, all the way to superintendent on the second and fourth Sunday. I believe we did it twice a month. So like that was, my introduction to God and having that relationship with him.
Totally. That's awesome that you spoke on that. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's an imperfect relationship. And I love it. I don't know if should we go deeper into that? I feel like we should.
We can. Yeah.
Like if somebody's watching currently, I'll share like the moment of me on that dirt road, the reason why I was there is because like I had been messed up so many times, so to speak. I had been to prison twice, and the day on that back road, I possibly could have been headed to prison for my third time. So out of desperation, it made me turn to him. But for somebody else, please don't let it take you to get to desperation. But for me, that was my story. I had to get to a point of I was the stubborn child. Um, again, grew up in a place and space where I was introduced to God, probably reading the Bible at 7 years old. So I knew a lot, but I was stubborn, hard headed, and I wanted to do stuff my way. But you can always come back, go back, because the Father is waiting for you.
Yes.
Like Prodigal Son, that is one of my favorite stories. I actually have this tattooed on my back, the prodigal child, and I got this tattoo when I was in high school before I even started getting in trouble. But at a young age, my stepfather, who was a pastor, he would always say, "Look at our prodigal daughter, look at the prodigal daughter." And I guess I don't know if that was a prophetic word ahead of time, but yeah, that's how my life ended up. So for somebody that's listening, always know at any given moment, you can always come to the Father. He's waiting. He's waiting.
Oh yeah. He's definitely waiting. And I don't know, like I feel like I meet more people who go to God in desperation than not.
Yeah, yeah.
So if I'm being completely honest,
Yeah.
I mean there are like some people in my life. Like I'm thinking of one person in particular, who was consistent, if that makes sense, like consistent in relationship with God. And that's great. And that's amazing.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's everyone's story. So I heard in a message recently with Dr. Daniels where he was talking about you have no idea what God will use to get you there. And he was talking about our pain or what sacrifices, like what he will allow to be taken away from us for us to surrender to him, because we are stubborn. Like we're stubborn by nature.
Yeah.
And because of our stubbornness, sometimes God has to allow things to go to the extreme to get our attention. And that's unfortunate, but also at the same token, if we're not going to listen, then what other choice the God has, right? So if we're not paying attention to him, then of course then he's going to do whatever he needs to do to let his will be done, right? Because that is what's going to happen regardless. He's going to get the glory regardless. He's going to be the victor of the story regardless. It's just a matter of us accept. The sooner we accept that, the easier it is for us to navigate the things that are going on in our lives.
Yes, yes, yes. I was thinking about something you said, and I loved it when you said that you had to get on the same frequency that God was. I love it. Can you go a little bit deeper into that?
So I heard that in a sermon years ago. Stephen Furtick, he's someone that in one of those phases, he became one of the spiritual voices or spiritual leaders that I listen to a lot. And he had this sermon, and he was just talking about the frequency of a radio, old school radio. I don't know who's listening, and for those of you who are young who are listening, who've only been dealing with digital radios, but there used to be analog radios, and it had a turn dial. And so, like, say for instance, like one of my favorite radio stations is 92.9. So you turn to 92.9, like you're going to hear the music off of that radio station. Mm-hmm. But if you go to 92.7, you may hear 92.9, but it's going to be a little fuzzy because you're not on the right station. So, but the radio station that you're wanting to listen to, it's always playing the music. it's playing the music regardless. Like right now, their radio station is playing some good R&B music right now.
Yes.
But I'm not tuned into it. And because I'm not tuned into it, I can't hear anything that's going on.
I'm about to take off running.
Right. So when it comes to our relationship with God, you have to be on the right frequency. He's always speaking to us. But what are the things that are going on in our lives that is distracting us from hearing his voice? Is it what we're watching on TV? Is it what we're listening to music wise? Is it the language that we're using? Is it what we're feeding ourselves, what we're reading? Are we actually getting to know him? Like his Bible, the Bible is the word of God. It is our way. Like if you want to have a dating manual of God, you need to read the Bible. Like that is the dating manual to get into a close relationship with God. But if you're not even reading the manual, there's no way for you to have that relationship with him.
Mm-hmm.
So, so in order to strengthen the relationship, right, we have to stay in that communication with God. So that frequency, like I ask myself that question, maybe not directly, but I do ask myself that question, like, hey, am I even in a posture to hear God right now? What am I doing? Because if I'm not doing the things that I'm supposed to do to hear his voice, then why am I upset when I feel like he's not talking to me?
Yeah.
I'm not even in the room with him.
You better turn it down.
Right, exactly. So that's where that came from.
Yeah, that's really good. And like for me, I would have, and I slowed down on it. So I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I slowed down on it, but I would have what I call date night.
Mm-hmm.
And so on my date nights, it was me and Jesus. It was me and God. Whether I would take the time out to study, read the Bible, whether I would just take moments and just worship and sing, whether I would just take moments and journal, I would write letters to him, just expressing how I feel, or just even moments of silence. But I would actually carve out time. Like we write everything else on our to-do list, on our goals list. There was a goal for me that I would write down every week. On certain days, even though I would be doing my devotional in the morning or night or whatever, praying, still had that in place, but I would carve out those special moments for date night. It's just me and God, just me and Jesus.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I got to get back into that because I kind of slowed down, but I'm glad we having this conversation.
Right.
It's helping me if it ain't helping nobody else.
Right. So I don't know if I did a date night with God, but I think just using, common terms today, I think I text God all the time.
That's good.
So like when you talk to your friends throughout the day and you just like, hey, what you got going on? Like, how you doing? Like, how you getting through the day? Man, this is 3:00. I am sleepy. Like you go through all the things. Like, yeah, I'm a texter with God. So like I check in with him throughout the day. I'm asking him, to help me in the moment. I'm praying for even the smallest things. It could be, I know I work at a university. Like I'm praying for parking spaces. I'm praying for, that sounds like small. That sounds trivial, but when you are trusting God for everything, you're okay with praying to him for everything. It doesn't matter how big or small it is. So like I said, I'm definitely a texter with God. Like I'm chatting with him. It can be just one small moment, that I'm sharing with him. Like, man, like that was awesome, God. Like that's what's up. Like you did that, and I'll go about my day, So, yeah. So that's how I quote unquote date God.
That's good. Be a texter, y'all. So look, switching gears. Let's talk about. So currently, where are you working in your faith? What are you working on in your faith? And I share like kind of what I'm working on in my faith. Honestly, so many different things. But right now, because I'm in the journey of, I feel like, purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
everybody's talking about that right now. But overall, I like the way Darius Daniels kind of explains it, that purpose is a multitude of things
Right.
in different seasons, though. What is that thing that you should be focusing on? So for me, I think I said it in our last episode or so when I was talking about mastery and
Mm-hmm.
becoming. So that's the one thing I'm working on in my faith, to be able to take what God said about me, who God said that I am, and actually walk this thing out. Even though at some points on my journey, I'm questioning, wait a minute, I'm kind of like Gideon. I'm questioning, like, am I really this mighty warrior that you said I
Mm-hmm.
am? Like, God, are you sure you want me to do this? So recently what I've been doing is it's called Think Up. It's an app. So I've been recording myself on some of the things that God has said to me, and some scriptures, and I will play that in the morning and say it to myself, to continuously feed that to myself, to become the person He says that I am. I'm already, take that back, I'm already that person, but for me to actually believe it to the depth of that, I actually materialize it in the earth. So that's one definite thing that I'm working on.
Well, you're gonna have to share that app with me after this, because
I will. I
I
will.
probably need to invest in it. Man, where am I in my faith right now?
Mm-hmm.
In my faith right now, I would say that honestly, one, I'm working on just consistently being in His Word.
Yeah.
As you all know, if you listen to the first episode, I'm married and Trinese is single, and another aspect is explaining the differences and where we are in our relationship. So I would say my husband and I were ready to celebrate our second anniversary in a month or so, and getting my relationship with God in, I don't know any other way to explain it, but balancing like the relationship with my husband and balancing my relationship with God, that was probably one of the hardest transitions in marriage. Because when I was single, like it was very easy for me to like turn the TV off, spend like 3 hours watching sermons back to back. Because there was a point in time where I was like saturating myself, where I was just like watching things like consistently, because I needed that in my life at that time. But when I became married, it's hard to get like whatever that balance is. So that's one thing that I'm working on right now, is really finding that intimacy in marriage with God, and not feel like I am not being a wife, to my husband. And of course, we have conversations about it together, and he's fully aware and he's fine. So it's me, it's not him. So let me put that disclaimer out there. Like, it's not him keeping me from, it's just me wanting to make sure that I'm being the wife that I know that I can be, and also be, with my father, right? With God. So yeah, so that's really like the big thing. And then similar to Trinise, I'm also working on being confident in my purpose, being confident in who I'm becoming, what my contribution is to the world, to my clients, to coworkers, and owning that. I've had moments where I've struggled with my confidence in those areas. And so, trusting God's word over mine is really important to me. And then once I trust God's word over mine, like also like trusting me. So yeah, so that those are the things that I'm working on when it comes to my faith right now.
So look, for our fam, because that's what y'all are. Y'all are family. We
Yes,
want y'all
sir.
to share with us, like, what are y'all working on? Like,
Mm-hmm.
on your journey with God, no matter where you are, even if you're not in that, I guess, phase or close intimacy phase, just share with us. Like, are you trying to figure out who he is? You
Mm-hmm.
know, or whatever have you. But share with us in the comments. We would love to hear from you. And I don't know, should we share an email address? Like if they want to send something to us, and
Yeah.
if they don't want to share it through the comments, send it to us in the email. We'll answer it. We'll help you out any way that we can. But yes, y'all are fam. We want to hear from you all too. You know, this is a conversation. It's not just me and her talking. We're all growing together. We're trying to have this faith, entrepreneurship, relationships, marriage, single, just all of the pieces of life, mental health, everything, and integrate life together. And ultimately, God is our foundation.
Yes.
Out of everything that we do, faith in God is our foundation. So that's why we brought this up in this episode. Is it anything you want to add?
No, I guess the only thing to add for most definitely is as people think about this, your journey is your journey and
Good,
your
yeah.
journey is okay. So don't feel bad because you aren't at this level or you think you should be further along. Like, no, what your journey is what your journey is. Now, you do play a role in how your journey can go, like to be committed, obedient to the process to allow it to manifest, in the way that it should. But do not feel bad because you're not in the same position as someone else because God knows how to take care of you exactly where you are.
That's good. And look, that's for every area in life. If you're in
Mm-hmm.
business, look, your journey is your journey. Your relationship, your marriage, your singing, your journey is your journey. So, keep that in mind. I like that. We might say that for another episode to dive deeper into that. And guess what? We'll see you next week.